freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of episode 104 of Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are sponsored by azfirearms.com, the biggest little gun shop in Arizona. Well, we are excited to have you here today, and if you missed any part of our first hour or any of our shows, please go to our webpage, GunFreedomRadio.com, click the On Demand tab, and all 103 other of our episodes are waiting for you to binge listen on your next long drive or while you're working in the yard or whatever you're doing, and we appreciate that you spend your time with us. So today we're talking about musicals, marches, and manipulation. And what do they all have in common? They grab you by the emotions, the feels, as the kids say these days. And it's dangerous for us to lose ourselves in emotion, and many prey on those kinds of opportunities. And people who prey on opportunities and prey on our kids these days is exactly what our next guest is going to be talking to us about. Craig Sawman Sawyer, that is president of Veterans for Child Rescue, whose primary objectives are to educate and increase public awareness, assist law enforcement and other legal entities to prevent and reduce human and child sex trafficking. Craig, such a horrible topic, but I'm so happy to have you on to help us learn more about it. Are you with us?
Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate being on. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. I do hear you. And Dan's here with us as well.
Hey, Craig. Welcome to the show.
So tell us...
Hi, Dan. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Tell us about this veterans. The veterans are coming together for child rescue. And who knew that this was even such a prevalent issue?
Well, two great questions. Veterans are wired to behave honorably. That's what we do. We serve the American populace. We protect them, and we go into harm's way to do that. And that's the honor and integrity that we spend our careers under in the military. So we simply forward that home. Now that I'm not in the military anymore, and I'm not in federal law enforcement anymore, I'm still kind of pre-wired to protect the innocent and the defenseless. And the children, I have learned, has become the next commodity, if you will, the next form of currency for the elite and for the big crime syndicates. So it's you're right, it's an ugly and sickening topic, but it has grown so big and so pervasive because it has enjoyed the secrecy that it has over the last several decades. And it has gotten increasingly worse as the corruption has spread throughout our federal government and law enforcement. We've got so many good people still serving in our government and law enforcement, but the corruption has increased, and I believe we're in a process right now of building cases nationally on those that have done the most harm to try to weed them out of our system, or our positions of authority, so that we can truly make this country great again and get things functioning back in an effective and wholesome, healthy manner. So you've got veterans who are just wired to defend the defenseless. And I've chosen some from the most powerful positions I've been at the top of the counterterrorist community, special operations in the intelligence community and federal law enforcement community. So I've grabbed close friends and professionals that I've known and trusted for years and said, hey, look, let's build an alliance to alert the American populace to this big secret that has become so harmful to our children, because there's really traumatic to even the survivors, and they spend the rest of their lives trying to counsel themselves and get therapy and get past the fact that adults were raping them instead of helping them and guiding them and mentoring them and protecting them as we should. So it's horribly damaging. We've got a big political problem with it because the politicians gain a political leverage through child trafficking and evidence of each other in it. So it's one of the things that affects, we the American citizen on multiple levels. And a lot of it's, again, we don't know because it's been kept so secret. So I think for me, the key is to alert the populace. And that's why the first thing we set out to do was film a very powerful and informative documentary to walk the American public through what's really happening out there, to show them what's really happening. And in that capacity, we're running joint operations with federal and local law enforcement. We are arresting numerous child predators and taking them off the streets and locking them away for a long time.
Wow.
And even this past weekend, we were able to assist a mother in getting her lost child back after about a year of being more than a year now, of being trafficked by some very powerful organized crime figures. So there's multiple things that we're doing, but I think, it's mind-blowing and it's ugly, but it is inspiring to see the good people rallying together and uniting to stand up for what's right, what we should all be doing. So that's what we've been up to. Multiple facets of it, but the mission is clear. Expose and combat child trafficking in the USA.
Wow. Well, I've neglected to thank you not only for your past service, but your ongoing continued service to our country. It's so important. Just thank you for investing yourself in others the way that you have.
Oh, man. Well, like I tell my kids and I tell other people more and more, the older I get, I'm realizing, the best things in life are not things. And that, when you can see a young, shattered trafficking victim back in her mother's arms, that you can't buy that. You can't find that kind of satisfaction and happiness in any doing anything else, really. It's something I feel like I just have to do. And yeah, you're right. It's an ugly situation to deal with, but it's rewarding to be able to have a part in it. So
I want people.
It's a blessing. It's a privilege.
Well, thank you again, and I want people to know about the website, because I'm sure that there are there's information on there and resources on there. It's vets4childrescue.org, and that's the number 4. But we're almost out of time, and I hate that it went so quickly. But you mentioned a documentary. Can you tell us just really quickly, well, where can we see that? When can we see that? What is it called?
Okay, it's called Contraland. It's one word, but Contraland. And the reason the production crew came up with that word was that, shockingly enough, children have become the newest contraband for the big crime syndicates. And the United States is becoming the most prevalent location for that, so this is becoming Contraland. And we haven't even noticed it. It's grown right under our noses, and we, the American citizens, have been unwitting to it, largely going about our lives. And it hasn't been until this last presidential election and all of the arrests that have come from that, and my friends in federal law enforcement, that I've started learning how pervasive and how dark and ugly this problem is, and I was motivated to try to help. And man, Vets for Child Rescue has grown larger and more powerful than any of us would have ever aspired to. And we believe it's just because it's the right thing and it's the right time, and it has to happen. And so we're running with the ball as hard as we can.
Well, I appreciate it. And these are like middle America kids, right, that are getting sucked in through social media outlets, or like how are kids getting sucked into this child sex trafficking and human trafficking? Or is this, the people crossing the border and have no other choice but to turn themselves over to someone that they think is going to help, and then they get entrapped in something?
Oh, there's a wide scope of victims and circumstances. And yes, some are brought here from other countries, and they may come to migrate here, but they are compromised. They are made to sell themselves rather than come here the way that they had hoped. So a lot of the human traffickers that bring people illegally into the United States are not doing them any favors. They'll murder them and rape them themselves a lot of times to save money. So that's one aspect of it. A lot of children are kidnapped in the U.S. Some are runaways that the predators spot them instantly whenever they wander away from home. They're looking for those type of innocent and vulnerable victims. They swoop them right up, become their boyfriend. Hey, I'll be your boyfriend. You need a place to stay. You could be part of our little, team. We can empower you, and you can belong here. And the next thing you know, they have to sell themselves to do it, and they get them strung out on drugs and so forth. And
crazy.
We're getting a lot of reports of child protective services actually targeting, being corrupted in some states.
Wow.
And targeting single mothers who do not have the wherewithal or the capability to put up a big legal fight. CPS will move in, make false accusations, take the children from the poor mother and sell them into slavery. So those are not investigations that I have been part of yet, but I am overwhelmed by traffic of people claiming that they are part of this or victims of this, and they want us to help. So
very good. Well,
I have not seen that personally to be fact, but due to the volume of the people making those claims and urges, I would expect we'll probably find something when we get into that.
At least worth a look. All right. Well, we are way out of time, but I feel like there's so much more to talk about. We're going to have to bring you back on and find out more about what's been happening, the inroads you've made with this. And just as we go out, tell folks again the name of the documentary, how they can watch it, and the name of your website.
Yes, ma'am. Contraland is the name of our documentary. It will be hitting Netflix probably in September. We're still running operations and filming, so as soon as we can get that to them, they'll put that up on Netflix and maybe Amazon Prime as well, but we'll see. And they can look at us and all of our updates on vetsforchildrescue.org, our website.
Good. Thank you again so much, and thank you again for your service. Craig Sawman Sawyer.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. All right. Wow, that was heavy, but it's important, and we need to know about these things and involve ourselves in being part of the solution. So stick around. We have Brian Hill waiting in the wings. He is the head coach of the Complete Combatant, and he's going to be talking with us today about the 4 fundamentals in shooting training. Stick around.
When you're working hard to beat debt, you've got to think of creative ways to get your income up. Here's an idea. Sell some stuff at auction. Start with locally owned and operated potofgoldestate.com. The owners, Dan and Cheryl Todd, have over 60 years of combined experience in selling antiques, collectibles, guns, coins, and jewelry. And over their many years in business, they've earned the trust of thousands of people just like you. Whether you're saving for a rainy day emergency fund or paying down debt, Let potofgoldestate.com help you get the extra cash you need. Potofgoldestate.com will purchase your items outright, or you can consign them to their twice-a-month online auction. Pot of Gold's nationwide online auction is a great place to get top dollar for your collectibles. They specialize in everything from antiques, coins, high-end collectibles, to cars, boats, guns, and more. Get started today at potofgoldestate.com, or visit them off I-10 and Dysart Road in historic Avondale for some live auction action. For more information, visit potofgoldestate.com. That's potofgoldestate.com.
Welcome back to Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearms.com, your nationwide hometown gun shop. Well, we are glad you are here with us today, and you know, your time is your most valuable commodity, and we appreciate that you spend your time with us here at Gun Freedom Radio. If you missed any portion of the show, of course, you can go and check our on-demand tab on our website, GunFreedomRadio.com. You can also click the guest tab and see a bio of every single guest that we've ever had on for all 104 episodes. If there's something that you didn't quite catch somebody said, or like, what was that man's website again, or what book did that lady write, you just click on there and we've got links to everything. Well, our theme here today is musicals, marches, and manipulation, but we're going to take a little fun jaunt away from some of the more serious topics today and talk with Brian Hill. He's the founder and head coach of the Complete Combatant and Fusion Fitness and Mixed Martial Arts in Marietta, Georgia. Brian has over 30 years experience in training and instructional combative firearm techniques and martial arts. And so the topic we're going to discuss with Brian is the 4 fundamentals in shooting training, because the most important thing in the shooting sports is safety. And you can have fun as long as you are safe, and safety is grounded in good training. So welcome to the show, Brian.
I'm so glad to be here.
Well, we are excited to have you. You and I have a video interview together from a while back, but this is the first time I've had a chance to, or no, maybe not. Maybe you have been on with us before, but either way, I am super glad to have you here.
Well, I look great on the phone, so this works great.
I love that. Well, you know, I've been talking in the lead-in about the 4 fundamentals of shooting. So I think, you know, some people might be saying, well, is that, you know, never point the firearm at something you're not willing to destroy, and, you know, keep your finger off the trigger till you're ready to shoot? Like, is that what we're talking about, or is this something else?
It's really something else, but they all go together, and, you know, those are the 4 safety rules of firearms handling. But what we were going to talk about is the 4 fundamentals of actually using your firearm.
Okay.
And these are where you actually apply those fundamental safety rules. They come into play in the same venue at the same time, and it's more of a timing issue for a lot of people.
Okay. Talk to us about those.
One of the 4 fundamentals is grip, in the way that we interface with the trigger, and in the way that we see the sights, and in the way that we follow through. If you look at the fundamental firearm safety rules, the same thing happens. You know, we don't want to. We want to treat all guns as if they're always loaded. That's very important. When we're getting a grip on a firing arm, we have to really know how to get the grip, where our fingers go, where our placement is. As we start to address the gun and it comes up, we want to be able to press the trigger. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways that we talk about the firearm safety rules is that when we never want to point a gun at anything we don't want to destroy,
mm-hmm.
Or injure or harm. And then as the sights come on target, we begin to make the decision to shoot. So now our finger is starting to interface with it. And what we like to talk about is how the sights report back to us. Do I have a good line of sight to the target? Is everything around it clear? Is this a good angle? Am I able to make a good shot here? And, I talk to my students a lot about that the sights are reporting to us. Mm-hmm. We're not seeing the sights. We're not following the sights. They're talking to us the whole time. They're telling us, and we're taking in through our sight what we can see. And then afterward is always follow through, And that kind of goes with your safety too. If I need to shoot, that I'm going to shoot. If I don't need to shoot, I don't need to shoot. And that's your follow-through. How your mind reacts to each segment of this influences your safe gun handling and your ability to shoot the firearm very well.
So there's a lot of mental engagement that goes on with shooting. And, I don't know if people really, especially those that have maybe not shot very much or not at all, or have maybe a negative opinion about shooting sports, there is so much that helps us with focus and clarity and discipline and even muscle control that I think it really, we could go an entire show just even talking about those things.
Yeah. The hard thing is when, say, a person actually takes time to get a class, we have to teach all these basics, and what happens a lot of times is they all come out as one big unit. Hey, we're all going to do this at one time. And something I found very beneficial for teaching so long is to break each thing down into a separate drill. You get a lot of practice where the firearm safety rule goes with the actual movement itself. You have a partner that actually watches you to see if you're validating it, and then we do it in dry fire over and over to get a feeling for it. Then we have an actual drill that allows you to feel, not only see, but feel what's going on with the gun, and you have another person that watches you at the same time. So you're constantly getting information back. You're constantly getting engaged. So it takes these very quick things that are happening over a second or a second and a half, and we break them down into processes that make sense and reinforce each other so that your safety and your shooting are all combined together. And I think a lot of times we're missing that in the firearms community. One of the most scary things we ever hear is, no, it's not loaded, don't worry.
No, it's always loaded.
Yes, that's right.
You don't have to worry, you just have to be aware, right? But it's always loaded.
Yeah. So, through these drills, we get a chance to allow them to see where their muzzle's pointed and how their finger's interacting with the trigger and when it's coming on the trigger. I like to use a lot of video coaching with it too, so I'll bring the iPad around and actually film people as they make their movements, and then we slow it down so they can see what's actually happening. Because most people, we have a hard time feeling and seeing what we're doing, especially when it's a new movement or it's under pressure. And, shooting a gun is a fairly stressful event for a new person. Mm-hmm. And this gives them a chance to see what they're doing. We work it through a blue gun, we work it through dry fire, and then we work it through actual shooting, and you get some really good feedback visually. And it's really hard to say, well, I wasn't doing that at that time, because you get to see each picture of how your hands are moving and where your eyes are, where the gun is pointed. And it's tremendously helpful for new shooters.
No, I can really, I understand that. It's like one thing to feel it from the inside, but it's another thing to be able to watch it from the outside like that. So give us, a lot of people like bullet points. So give us those 4 bullet points again. What are the 4 fundamentals?
So it'll be grip, trigger, sights, and follow through.
And
grips, trigger, sights, and follow through.
And follow through. So how, as you're practicing these, is there, other than having an instructor like you, which, maybe people want to travel to where you are in Georgia, maybe they want to have you come out to them and practice these. Is there something that is very effective that you can help people kind of begin the process to think about how to practice them?
Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of information. We live in the golden age of information. You can learn anything you want to, but it's hard to focus and filter and see what's effective information. There's a lot of fine instructors putting great videos out on YouTube. There's a lot of fine information in books. Also, what I really recommend for people is taking your phone or your iPad and filming yourself as you make these movements. And then you can actually film something and see what it looks like to you. And if you need further help, it's something you could easily send to another instructor, and they can look at it and give you a bit of a diagnosis of what's going on in your movements or how you're gripping the gun or how you're shooting. And it's a great modern technique to actually help people improve at a much greater rate.
Oh, I love it. And then, of course, they really could go to Marietta, Georgia, and, take one of your classes at the Complete Combatant, right?
That would be great, too. We'd love to have them.
Absolutely. Well, as we go out, please tell folks how they can reach out to you. They might have more questions for you that we didn't cover here today. They might say, man, this would be great not only just to teach myself, but, maybe my coworkers, so we're all, kind of have this common thing. Or I know a lot of people are doing group outings to learn a new skill and have a great experience as part of just even like bachelor parties and that sort of thing. So how can people reach out to you, maybe come out to your place and follow you online?
It's very simple. We're thecompletecombatant.com. And as you know, my wife is a media maven, much like yourself.
Yes, she
so
is.
We have an extensive social network. And you'll find us on Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest and YouTube. And if you have any questions, please just email us or message us. And we're very quick to respond, and we'll be glad to help in any way we can.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking the time and being on with us here today. This is Brian Hill of The Complete Combatant. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.
Okay, so we still have one awesome guest, and he's actually in studio. We love it when our guests get to be here with us. Scott Lavin, he's the founder, actually, of Shot, Heard, Round the World Day. What could that be? Think history, think social gatherings with shooting sports, think fun. Stick around.
Hey everybody, this is Joey Rocket Shoes Dillon, world champion gunslinger and Hollywood gun coach. In the Westerns, there's always a good guy and a bad guy, and sometimes the ugly guy. And I always root for the good guy, which is why I'm here to tell you about the good folks over at azfirearms.com. They are straight shooters and always give you the best deal in town. azfirearms.com is the biggest little gun shop in Arizona and have something for every single gun enthusiast. Long guns, pistols, hunting, military, law enforcement, home protection, you name it. And when you've got some guns to sell or trade in and trade up, azfirearms.com are the folks to see. Geez, they bought a cannon once. They are family-owned and operated, friendly staff, courteous, totally reliable. azfirearms.com will give you the best value for your used guns. So stop in, see my friends Dan and Cheryl Todd at azfirearms.com in Old Town Avondale off the I-10 and Dysart Road, and tell them Joey Rocket Shoes Dillon sent you.
Thanks for sticking around with Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearms.com, the biggest little gun shop in Arizona. And as I said, our next guest is in studio, so we've been cracking ourselves up a little bit while you guys were listening to commercials. So we're gonna try to reel it in a little bit here. We are excited to bring back on the air again our guest and our friend Scott Lavin, who is the organizer of Shot, Heard, Round the World Day. Welcome, Scott.
Thanks for having me again.
Absolutely. So what the heck is this Shot, Heard, Round? It sounds vaguely familiar, like maybe it's something from history times.
You know, it's funny, if you Google it, there's an 80% chance you're going to get a baseball reference. So I guess there was some baseball thing that was the shot heard around the world.
Always got to appropriate our historical references.
No, as you know, the American Revolution started with a shot at the North Bridge. They call it the Shot Heard Round the World Day. It was April 19th, 1775. And that's really what started the American Revolution, started our march to independence, the 4th of July, and everything that's happened since really, in my opinion, started at that moment. So what we wanted to do is try to create an opportunity to invite people who maybe don't own a firearm yet, or who maybe bought one and it's been sitting collecting dust somewhere, to come out and experience the social side of recreational shooting. There's so much noise out there about firearm ownership and gun rights and stuff like that. This is a chance to just relax. This is a non-political event where we're inviting ranges, retailers, manufacturers, organizations that provide training, and social clubs to just come out with us and enjoy the day, and hopefully, if you are a range owner or a property owner, you guys own a store, you'll put up a little flyer letting people know the date's coming, and maybe invite some of your community partners to be present that day, so that if I'm new to the community, I can kind of come to that range that day, and I can see the local chapter of the Well-Armed Woman, the local Hunter Ed Association, and see the many flavors that in most cases I probably didn't know about before.
That is so cool. So it's networking, right?
Absolutely.
It's a social opportunity to go out on the range and spend time as a family, spend time with your friends, and also be reminded of a very important time in history. I think that's really, really cool. And so what is this, your fourth year?
No, actually last year was our inaugural year. We did a very small personal one the year before, and that's when I got the idea to kind of go public and national with this. But last year was our inaugural year. We had 44 partners in 14 states. We had ranges in 12 states participate. So, and this is really kind of grassroots. So just to get that much attention, and you guys really helped us get out of the gate with this, so we certainly appreciate that. But it's I've never seen anybody have a bad day at the range. And you mentioned going with your family. Now, you want to talk about engagement with people. When you're at the range, nobody's looking at their phone. Mm-hmm. Nobody's social mediaing. Mm-hmm. You have full engagement. And again, I've just never seen anybody having a bad day at the range. These organizations are very social. Some of them meet weekly and at a range to participate in whatever discipline that they're partial to, whether it's cowboy action, whether it's practical pistol, long distance shooting, busting clays. I sold firearms for a decade. I didn't know a third of what's out there, and I don't think I know half yet.
Absolutely. And every time you think you know everything, like with our shop, AZ Firearms, we think we know everything. Somebody walks in with something, we're like, okay, I hadn't seen that before, but that's really, really cool. So, when you talk about when you're out at the range and there's a social, family, togetherness feel, there's a lot of people out there that sounds so foreign to them. Right? Like, how do you pair guns with your family and kids and stuff? But there is such a level of engagement, and it teaches kids discipline. It teaches kids focus, right? You're tying it in with this piece of history, and you're getting them into fresh air.
Exactly.
Right? You're getting their eyes off of this screen that is, I swear my eyes have gotten worse since I owned an iPhone. I think, so it's giving them an opportunity to be with their parents and invite the neighbors and get to know people while they're trying something either new or they're perfecting a skill that they've already started learning. I mean, it's just a win-win every way you go.
I think that we all have this image until we start participating in a social shooting club that going to the range is kind of like this solemn, solitary journey, and it's just not. I mean, even if I go to the firearm range by myself and I'm shooting, usually there's a lady or a gentleman next to me in one of the neighboring lanes, and we always find commonality, whether it's, hey, I noticed you're doing this. Have you ever tried this? It might improve your performance. Or, hey, what are you shooting over there? And everybody's just always willing to help, offer support. I've never seen bad manners at the shooting range. Mm-hmm. I think we also participated in last year's 1,000-man shoot where we were very intimate on that range to squeeze 1,000 people on the range. And we're stepping on each other's toes, and everybody just was as polite and patient as could be. They just were excited about the opportunity. And that's what we're trying to bring out we're not trying to win anybody over, but we're just trying to say, hey, here's an opportunity. Here's a good excuse. We can celebrate some American patriotism. We can have a social opportunity and find out what's out on the landscape and enjoy it.
So let's just talk about it again as far as, all right, so I'm hearing you say, I'm somebody at home, and I'm hearing you say, Shot Heard Around the World Day, cool, right? History, great. Social aspect, great. We're going to network with some of our local businesses that maybe I wasn't even aware that there was a well-armed woman. What the heck is that, and how do I get involved? So with your website, which is?
ShotHeardRoundTheWorldDay.com.
Not around.
Not around the world.
Round. Because the world is round,
We
right?
suffer poor grammar. It's okay.
I love it. So when they go there, what can they expect to do on your site? Are they signing up for something? Are they supporting you in some way? Is there a pathway to find some of the events that are going on that day?
So basically, it's just kind of, and again, this is grassroots, and you know me, I'm not very techie, so we're doing the best we can with the website.
I think it's beautiful.
But basically, by state, you can find, we want to, and we're growing. We have, like I say, we don't have partners in all 50 states yet, but we want to be a resource by state to introduce you to the range where it's safe and legal to go recreate, the retailers and manufacturers in your area that can provide you with safety and good equipment, and the social organizations to provide that social structure, because I don't think any of us get to go to the range as much as we would like to.
No.
If I was a member of a club that was looking forward to seeing me, and every Thursday night they say, "Hey Scott, how you doing? What are you working on tonight?" That creates, and a lot of ranges are doing a great job with this. Some of the indoor ranges and outdoor ranges are doing ladies' nights, or they're doing themed range nights around the holidays and all. So the industry is getting more creative. We're getting more inclusive, but we just have a long way to go. 25% of the hunters this year are not going to renew next year. 35% of the target shooters this year are not going to re-engage next year. And that doesn't, that's not so scary, because the industry is doing a great job of recruiting people every year, but a lot of them are just going through a revolving door, and they're not sticking with it. And I think that we failed them because we didn't provide them the social opportunities to enjoy the sport.
Absolutely. So when you're talking about and developing this Shot Heard Round the World Day, who did you have in your mind's eye that you really wanted to speak to? Like, who's your target audience, for lack of a better word?
You guys know I have a retail background, and everything that I've learned in business is that mom makes the decisions in the house.
Oh yeah.
I haven't had a decision on what color a room is painted, what my weekend is like, or where I've been going on a vacation in 9 years.
Well, and isn't
and
your
it's
life
great.
just better
It
and more
is.
relaxed?
It's so much simpler.
Yeah, see, he's safe. He's taking the
Scott,
safe
we
route
need
here.
to talk later.
But in all seriously though, so mom has to be bought in. She has to feel comfortable. So we want to, introduce her to these organizations. And really, when you look nationally, and I know you know this, the ladies organizations tend to be more organized, tend to be more effective. I can tell you last year, if a range participated in Shot Heard Around the World Day and had a collaboration with a women's shooting organization, their attendance was greater than the average range.
I 100% believe that. For one thing, we ladies are very social, right?
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it really is. And so if we are excited about some new thing we're doing, we are definitely bringing our girlfriends along for the fun.
And plus, remember that if a woman is involved in guns, you're going to own more.
For the guys.
I like the sound of that.
Oh yeah,
It's true, right? So it's like, instead of, having to explain, oh, honey, I stopped by, I don't know what happened, but I ended up in AZ Firearms and I got 2 more guns. She could say, oh, you got 2, 1 for me? So, or vice versa.
I need a
the lady
smaller
goes
one,
in.
a bigger one with color, one with this, one with that, and it's great.
It really is cool to see. And, I like to say that a lot of we females have been in the Second Amendment community and the firearms community. We've just always been there. But I think we are we're finding reasons that we maybe should be a little bit more vocal and visible nowadays, and empowering our children with knowledge and education, not only to help keep them safe, but to just make them more involved citizens by helping them understand their history.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, right. And so this program that you've developed helps with that. I mean, it just taps tongue and groove with what I want for my daughter, who's an adult now, 28 years old, we've got a granddaughter, and she's only 4, but, they listen to everything we say. And so we start early just talking about our history and why it's important, and our rights, and, firearm safety, all those things. And you've incorporated all those into this.
Well, hopefully, yeah. And hopefully this year is going to be bigger than last year. We learned that weekdays are tough because a lot of the volunteer organizations that have these clubs have real jobs. So while we're commemorating April 19th, and we encourage you, if you can, to go to the range that day, to allow businesses to collaborate more effectively, we're doing it on the Saturday after. So we're celebrating this year on April 21st. It's a Saturday after. The range I'm at is going to have a kind of a little marketplace of different vendors. So we're going to have a military honor guard present the colors, and it's whatever flavor your property can manage. So just, if just putting up a banner is what you want to do, hey, that's awesome. Let's just start with that. We've got a marathon ahead of us with this, and let's just make it fun.
I love it. All right. Well, Scott Lavin, tell folks again the name of the website and any other ways they can reach out and get involved.
Sure. It's shotheardroundtheworldday.com, all one word, no spaces. And then, of course, we're on Facebook under the same name, Shot Heard Round the World Day. There's a contact us tab. If you're interested in getting involved, we just need your logo and to talk about it a little bit and join the movement, I guess.
I love it. Another example of somebody that didn't sit down and say, well, I'm only one person, so what can I do? You did something, and it's pretty dang cool. It's called Shot Heard Round the World Day. Thank you so much, Scott Lavin.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, stick around because we still have our Responsibly Armed Citizen Report and Dan's commentary. Coming up right after this.
And we're back with Cheryl Todd talking about the huge gun buying event at azfirearms.com. Oh, AZ, I get it, as in Arizona.
Yes, but...
Oh, or AZ, as in everything from A to Z.
Well, yes, that too. But what I'm telling everybody about is that azfirearms.com is having a huge gun buying event to buy your old firearms all across Arizona and everything from A to Z.
That's great news. See, my grandpa left me an old shotgun and it's just sitting on a closet shelf at home, so I can bring that into azfirearms.com and sell my gun?
Absolutely. azfirearms.com buys, sells, trades, and even consigns your old firearms. Any vintage, any style, military, long guns, handguns, hunting, or home protection. Single items or entire collections. We offer the highest value for your used firearms in a safe and friendly environment, staffed by knowledgeable people.
azfirearms.com is in Old Town Avondale off I-10 and Dysart Road. Come on down to the huge gun buying event every day through the end of the month at the biggest little gun shop in Arizona. And for all your firearm and ammo needs, visit azfirearms.com.
Come listen to the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Hear about armed civilians protecting people they love. Were they lucky or were they prepared? Come listen and learn at selfdefensegunstories.com.
For straight shooting, look to the biggest little gun shop in the West, azfirearms.com, where they have everything you need to be a safe and responsible gun owner. Huge selection and a friendly and knowledgeable staff. They're my nationwide hometown gun shop, and you should make it yours, too. And when you go, tell them old Don Collier sent you.
Welcome back to Gun Freedom Radio, where we engage, we educate, and we inform. We are brought to you by azfirearms.com, your nationwide hometown gun shop. Well, this is the part of our show that I really feel privileged to be able to do. It's our Responsibly Armed Citizen Report.
Fights a never-ending battle for truth, justice, and the American way.
So responsibly armed citizens use guns 2.5 million times a year for self-defense. And 200,000 times a year, a woman prevents a sexual assault because she was armed. Somehow, we never hear these stories on the network news, so we are proud to bring them to you here on Gun Freedom Radio. So, I want you to imagine for a moment that it's an ordinary day. It's a Wednesday evening around 8 p.m. There's nothing special about this particular Wednesday, and you're just going about your life. Maybe you're running errands or working a second job as a security guard in a small neighborhood church. That was the scene in Chicago recently for one 57-year-old man who was making sure that the Maypole Avenue Church of Christ was all secure for the night, when suddenly danger slammed open a door and pointed a firearm at the guard demanding money. This sudden attack was carefully designed by Danger. Danger planned to find the guard all alone and isolated in the building, and Danger often uses the element of surprise to try to shock his victims into becoming compliant and ensuring they do by making it clear that he will injure or kill to get what he wants. However, on this night, the guard was aware that danger can strike at any moment, and he had trained for a moment such as this. His life was saved because he acted with swiftness and immediacy as a responsibly armed citizen.
Good morning, everybody. The attempted armed robber clearly met his match after targeting a location with an armed guard. And it's an incident that turned a church into a crime scene. According to police, it was just after 8 o'clock last night when a 27-year-old offender burst into the Maypole Avenue Church of Christ in West Garfield Park and announced a robbery. He was immediately confronted by a 57-year-old security guard who is a concealed carry card holder. The two exchanged gunfire, ending with the offender critically injured with multiple gunshots to the chest. The guard suffered a single bullet wound to the left arm. He is expected to recover, while the offender remains in critical condition at Stroger Hospital. It's not known yet if anything is missing from the church. Area North is investigating.
Well, there is something missing at the church. Or actually, there's more there at the church than there was before, and that's a little bit of blood.
Oh, Dan.
Well, the guy, he shouldn't have done it. I mean, what are you going to church to rob a church for?
Yeah, that is just crazy. Well, he clearly thought that he was going to have the upper hand and the advantage. And that's why we tell people it's great to just call the police or to call the police, but you can't just rely on that because the police are not, they can't be everywhere at every moment and in the immediacy of when danger strikes. And so thankfully, this guard was able to save his own life and probably the lives of others because crime spreads when bad guys are successful.
Yeah, what's next?
Yeah.
Right.
So
you never know, but, the police keep telling us every day they're not the first ones there.
Yeah.
You're the first responder.
Yeah, we are always our own first responders, right? Well, I want to be sure that we get to your segment. So often we run out of time, but we make sure today that we get to hear Dan's commentary.
Tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it.
Well, I don't know if I can be calm with this one too much because I'm really upset when I hear that John Paul Stevens, a retired Supreme Court judge, calls the Second Amendment a relic of the 18th century. He states that in 2008, the Supreme Court overturned Chief Justice Burger's and other judges' long-settled understanding of the Second Amendment limited reach by ruling in the District of Columbia versus Heller that there was an individual right to bear arms.
Okay.
Judge Stevens ruled against that interpretation.
Okay.
He quotes, "That decision, which I remain convinced was wrong and certainly was debatable, has provided the NRA with a propaganda weapon of immense power." Now listen to this part.
Immense power or immense power?
Listen to this part. I'm upset, I told you.
Okay, I'm
Don't
listening.
get me going.
I'm listening.
Listen. Overturning that decision via a constitutional amendment to get rid of the Second Amendment would be simple and would do more to weaken the NRA's ability to debate and block constructive gun control legislation. That simple but dramatic action would eliminate the only legal rule that protects sellers of firearms in the United States. It would make it would make our school children safer than they have ever been since 2008 and honor the memories of the many, indeed far too many, victims of recent gun violence. And I will tell you, James is really upset about this too, right? He feels it. He feels it.
He feels it.
Just
so I guess that's the thing that, it's like you're following along. You're like, yes, it's for the children. We want to keep the children safe. So we're in agreement with whoever we're talking to, right? yes, this is a good idea. And then all of a sudden he goes, and the way to keep the children safe is, and then they peel off and they say by completely abolishing or repealing a piece of our Bill of Rights.
If I have children with me and we're going into an unfamiliar area, I want to keep the children safe too. And I choose to do it a different way than what they're interpreting here.
And that's the thing, is we agree on so much, but it's our method, our how do we do that, our therefores, that we part company so instantly and so dramatically. He, in his worldview, completely discounts what I just said earlier in this segment, that responsibly armed citizens use guns 2.5 million times a year to do what? To save a life.
Why can't they hear that?
To stop sexual assault, for self-defense.
Do they think we're lying with that?
I don't know if this particular man is so sheltered that he is truly unaware.
They have to know. Somebody has to talk to them about that, but they just ignore it?
Clearly they do. In their worldview, these things either don't happen or they don't matter. And so if they don't matter, then how do you say it's for the children? How do you say I want to save the lives of innocent people if these true incidents don't even hit your radar? If you know about them and you ignore them, what are you really saying?
I think that the people that are wanting to take our guns away are so blinded by the fact that all they want is all the guns eliminated, that they can't look at common sense stuff. Their goal is one thing. I have a goal. My goal is to remove guns from the United States, period, or the world. If we did that, we wouldn't have gun crime.
How practical is that? You are a gunsmith, right? You work with the metal implements.
You'd have to close Lowe's and a Home Depot.
And why is that? For the average person that doesn't understand what we just said, why is that?
Because if I got up at 7 o'clock in the morning, by 5 o'clock in the evening, I could have a gun that would fire, and I could do it at Lowe's, or I could do it at Home Depot.
Because it's a mechanical instrument. It's a mechanical tool.
Right.
And it can be manufactured. Now, if they were outlawed, of course, you'd be breaking laws. But how much do bad guys care about laws?
I have guns that were confiscated from Cuba by a colonel that brought them back to the United States that are made out of wood.
Wow.
That will fire.
Wow.
They will kill.
Wow.
They're made out of wood.
That shows two things to me. That shows me that, again, you're never going to eliminate these tools from the earth. Secondly, that shows such an extreme desperation coming from a country that they had their rights, maybe never even had them, but if they did even have a glimmer of them, they were stripped of them and trampled on and lived under the thumb of a big government.
Right.
Wow. Wood. Somebody's carving out of wood
and they actually
a tool to protect their own life.
I could shoot it. It's that well done.
Is it like a one-time
22.
It would destroy itself?
It's already been shot, so it's been shot more than once.
Wow.
But the guy made out of wood and little pieces of metal.
That's incredible.
I'm going to display those one day, but it's amazing. And that you're right, it's desperation. You can see the level of desperation these people had. It's more than one gun. It's like 8 or 9 of them. So
because they understand that 2.5 million times a year, people use this tool, firearms, in self-defense to save a life, to prevent sexual assault. It's just amazing.
And who would think that a guy in Chicago, where the gun laws are so strict, would have a concealed carry permit in the first place and go to a church? Did the guy that robbed them have a concealed carry permit?
Thinking no. Wasn't mentioned in the articles. So anyway, we have to run. So thank you for that, Dan. And thank you to everyone for another incredible show, to our tech crew, to our listeners. What we do here would not matter at all if it weren't for you. So thank you so much for spending your time with us. Thank you to our guests, again, taking time out of your very busy lives to bring your expertise to our audience. Please stay engaged with us on social media. Keep this conversation going because we really are listening. We know what we're thinking. We want to hear what you're thinking. And so until next time, pray for our nation. Pray for our leaders.
All of them?
All of them, Dan.
Okay.
Even the ones you don't like, especially the ones you don't like.
Now you're pushing it.
Be good to each other. Have a great week, and God bless.
Our founding fathers here in this country brought about the only true revolution that has ever taken place in man's history. Every other revolution simply exchanged one set of rulers for another set of rulers. But only here did that little band of men so advanced beyond their time that the world has never seen their like since evolve the idea that you and I have within ourselves the God-given right and the ability to determine our own destiny. But freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.